Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with garlic naan. That's right, we've posted a lot of flatbreads on the channel, like pita bread, flour tortillas, mountain bread, and I'm sure a few others as well. But I've never done a video for what is probably my favorite flatbread, and that would be garlic naan. So that's what we're attempting to do today. And it can be challenging without the super hot tandoor oven, but I think I've come up with a pretty decent technique for doing these in the home kitchen, as you're going to see relatively soon. But before we get to that, we have to start our dough, which will begin as usual with some very warm but not too hot water, into which we will add a little bit of white sugar, as well as 1 packet of dry active yeast. And what we'll do is just let that sit there for about 10 to 15 minutes to sort of give that yeast a head start, and also to test if it's alive. And what we can do while we're waiting for that is move on to make our garlic butter, which we'll start by melting 1 stick of butter over medium heat in the small pan. And for the record, I'm making way more than I need for this recipe, since there's like 40 other things we can use that for. And what we'll do once that melts is wait for it to sing before we add our garlic. And what I mean by sing is that we're waiting for this sound. All right, you hear that? And once our butter starts doing that, we'll go ahead and stir in our garlic. And a lot of it. That was like 4 giant cloves. And we will quickly mix that in and immediately turn off the heat. All right, very important, we really don't want to cook the garlic too much. So basically, as soon as we add it and stir it in, we're going to turn off our heat. And we could just leave that on the stove until we're ready to use it. So our garlic butter is set, and we could head back to check out our yeast, which as you can see was most certainly alive. And I can tell because it looks like the head of a beer. And that's our signal it's okay to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients, which will include a spoon of plain yogurt, as well as some bread flour, although I'm pretty sure you can use all-purpose for this. We will also toss in some salt. And then last but not least, 1 tablespoon of our freshly made garlic-infused butter. And once all that's in there, we'll take a wooden spoon and start mixing. And we will keep mixing until we form what we call in the business a shaggy dough, which is going to look a little something like this. And then what we'll do once we've reached our shaggy dough stage is switch to our hand. And we'll get in there and we'll start pressing and pushing everything together until eventually we can sort of start kneading. And we'll keep doing that until basically everything's been pulled off the sides of the bowl, and we've sort of formed a rough ball of dough. And it might seem obvious, but I'll tell you anyway. If things seem too dry and it's not coming together, just add a little touch of water. Or if it's too wet and sticky to come together, just add a little more flour. Okay, that is just you cooking. But anyway, once it does come together like this, we'll go ahead and transfer that onto our table. And we will need that for about 3 or 4 minutes until we have a fairly smooth, fairly elastic dough. And if you have to dust it with a little bit of flour, go ahead. But because of that little bit of garlic butter we added, it shouldn't really stick to the table too much. So we'll go ahead and keep kneading that as shown, until, like I said, we have something that's fairly smooth, and it sort of springs back to the touch. So that is looking pretty good right there. And once that's been accomplished, we will transfer that into a bowl. And then we'll drizzle over a little more of our garlic butter, so we can coat our dough so it won't dry out while it rises. And of course you could use a little bit of oil like we usually do, but that butter was right there. And then what we'll do once that's set is cover it and let it sit for about 1 hour to 2 hours, or until it doubles in size. And generally doughs that have some fat in them, like this one, will take a little bit longer to rise. So don't panic if this takes a little longer than you're used to. And after about 2 hours, mine looked like this. And then as usual, we'll go ahead and punch that down and transfer it onto our table, where we are quickly going to press it into some kind of rectangular shape, or by the way, any semi-regular shape, because the only reason we're doing this is to make it easier to cut into 6 pieces with our bench scraper. And theoretically, if our dough's a nice even size, we should be able to cut our 6 portions into pretty even sizes. But of course, having said that, as you can see, mine were not that even, which is fine because this is naan, and you do not want to trust a pile of naan bread that's all exactly the same size. All right, we don't want this looking like it came out of a machine, which is clearly not going to be an issue here. But anyway, once those are cut, we will use a cupped hand to sort of rub those on the table in a circular motion so that we end up with 6 mini dough balls. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and lightly dust those with flour. And then what we'll do is cover those with some plastic wrap. And we will let them sit there for about 15 to 20 minutes to proof, which is just a fancy baking word for a brief second rising. And after about 15 or 20 minutes, this is what mine look like. So yes, in that short amount of time, they will puff up a fair amount. And that's it. Once these are proofed, We can start rolling those out on a very lightly floured surface. And I generally shoot for about 1/8 of an inch thick. And by the way, feel free to make these round if you want. But I believe traditionally these do have more of an oval shape. And besides, an oval is easier than a circle. But either way, like I said, we'll roll that out to about 1/8 of an inch. At which point I'm going to do one optional step. And that would be to press and or roll a little bit of freshly chopped cilantro onto one side. And for once, my cilantro was nice and dry and easy to use, which made it a little bit harder to stick. But that's okay, just press it or roll it on the best you can. And again, this is optional, so skip it if you want. I mean, you are, after all, the Chef John of your garlic naan. But I think it looks cool and provides more flavor, so I do it. And that's it. Once our naan has been rolled and herbed, we will head to the stove, where we will place that in an insanely hot cast iron skillet. Okay, so preheat that on high. And then once you think it's hot enough, wait another 5 minutes. And then it's probably ready. And you'll see as soon as you put that in, bubbles are going to start forming on the surface. Okay, probably lots of little ones. And then a few random big ones. And those bubbles are kind of key. Because what's going to happen after a couple minutes is we're going to flip this. And we'll give it a gentle pressing with our spatula. And ideally, when we flip this back over, wherever those larger bubbles were, there's going to be a perfect char mark from the pan. So we will flip that over and give the second side a couple minutes. At which point, if everything's gone according to plan, we should have something that looks like this. And the whole key here is make sure the pan was smoking hot. And then what we'll do to finish this, as soon as we remove it from the pan, is go ahead and brush that on both sides with our warm garlic butter. Plus, if you want, you can spoon on some of that chopped garlic. And if you want, some people like to sprinkle over a little coarse salt here, so suit yourself. Oh, and by the way, if it looks like I'm putting too much garlic butter on this, I'm not. That's just a light playing tricks with your eyes. Plus, as this sits, most of that will soak in. Although I'm not going to give this one time to, since I'm going in for the official taste right now. And hopefully what we've achieved here is something that's kind of chewy but still tender, with a little bit of random crispiness here and there from those charred blisters. Plus, above and beyond the aforementioned amazing texture, we're talking about a substantial amount of buttery, garlicky goodness. So yes, maybe the world's best garlic bread is not actually garlic bread. It might be garlic naan. And of course, as you're finishing one of these, you really should be singing, na 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 naan, na 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 naan, hey, goodbye. But anyway, after I ate that one, I went ahead and did the rest. And like every flatbread, pancake, and crepe, the last couple you do will always be better than the first few, which is probably because the dough's rested longer, but also because your pan's probably getting hotter. Plus, you've had a few to practice on. And that's it. Once we've cooked them all and piled them up, maybe we'll finish with a little more cilantro. And that, my friends, is one handsome plate of garlic naan. And as amazing as that one I ate all by itself was, you put this next to some spicy curry, like, for example, this creamy cashew chicken curry that I'm probably going to show you very soon, and you're going to take this experience up to a whole other level. As in, like, off the charts delicious. I mean, if there's a better combination than a rich, creamy, aromatic chicken curry paired with a crispy, chewy, buttery garlic naan, I would really like to know what that is. But anyway, that's it. My take on a home version of garlic naan. There's only one appropriate way I can think to end this video. Na 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 na. Actually, I'm not going to sing again. And I'll finish by simply saying I really do hope you give this a try soon. So head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.